Hey everybody, hope you guys had a nice weekend. We're back for our video for April 27th. Remember that you guys should take out a new sheet of paper every day, title the top with the date, and then you guys can upload a picture of your notes and your homework to the Google Doc in the classroom, or classwork, sorry, on Google Classroom, and get your full points for participation. And again, thank you for staying up with all this stuff. It's really going to help you out. Today, what you're going to learn is why radicals were so important. We spent our last couple of weeks doing radicals, and then you're going to see how they can help you in geometry. So we actually use radicals or square roots all the time in geometry. So this type of skill, what you're going to learn for this week, is going to be really important next year for you. Your geometry teacher is going to expect you to kind of know this material because they'll go through it a lot faster. Well, in order to understand what we're doing, we first want to look at a problem like this. Oops, my black marker is going bad a little bit, sorry. We're going to have a number that we don't know squared equal 25. Now, I ask kids all the time, what number can go there? And usually kids can give me a partial answer. So at this point, you can pause it, you can think, well, what number should go there? All right, so what I hear most often is kids say 5 is the answer, because 5 can go there. And I go, kind of the answer, but if somebody asked for my full name, I wouldn't just say Brett. I'd have to say my first, middle, and last name because that is my full name. So whenever I say what's the answer or what numbers can make this equation true, I want the full answer. So yes, 5 does work. 5 squared equals 25. That's awesome. But is there another number? So if you thought 5, great, but there is another number. What is that other number? Pause, see if you can think about it. The other number is -5. Because -5 times -5, or -5 times himself, is positive 25. So this one equation has 2 different answers. The number positive 25 can be plugged in there, or the number -25 can be plugged in there. And that is what we are looking at today. All right, so we're going to start our examples. And again, you should write this down on your piece of paper. It's just not like an official example. What we're going to do is we're going to be solving equations using radicals. So number 1, write x squared equals 81. The only thing different between our first formal example and our introductory example is instead of just a parentheses, we use a variable. When you don't know a number in an equation, you put a variable there. Now, we always need to know how to get rid of numbers to get the letter by itself. In the past, chapter 2, we solved the equations. We solved the equations a lot, but you guys, to get rid of plus, use minus. To get rid of minus, use plus. To get rid of times, use divide, and to get rid of divide, use times. So we know that addition and subtraction cancel each other out. Multiplication and division cancel each other out. Well, there's another thing that cancels each other out. Exponents and radicals cancel each other out. They're called inverse operations. So to get rid of an exponent of 2, the opposite of that is a square root. So I will have to square root the left side and square root the right side. So I took the square root of x squared equals the square root of 81. But I have an issue. And this is one of the most commonly missed things. So really pay attention here is, if you solve this, and you're allowed to use a calculator, I want you to have a calculator out. On the left side, the square root and the squared cancel. You would have x equals. And on the right side, when you do the square root of 81 in your calculator, you get a perfect answer, 9. It means it's no longer a radical, but that's only a partial answer. Just like here, 5 wasn't the only answer, 9 is not the only answer. What you have to learn is, When you use a square root to solve an equation, you have to put plus or minus on the number side with that square root. So it's plus or minus the square root of 81. So very important, it's plus or minus 9. Now this is how math people, since x is by itself, would finish it. But what it really means is there's two answers. That plus or minus sign means positive 9 and negative 9. So this really means that x equals 9 is an answer, and x equals negative 9 is an answer, but we just write it as plus or minus 9. Okay, we have 3 more examples just like that. But the main overarching theme of today is to get rid of a power of 2, or an exponent of 2, we use square roots. And we have to put plus or minus on the number side for it. So here's number 2. If I have 2,704 is equal to a squared. Now the variable doesn't matter, so don't worry about x or a or y or z. But I need to get a by itself. So what is the opposite of squared is square root. So I put a square root on the left side and a square root on the right side. Just like to do a little color coding here, so I got to switch my pens back and forth. And all I did was I square rooted both sides, and that was fair. But I have to remember that very important piece. The square root of the number side, I have to put plus or minus. So I have on the left side plus or minus. I take out a calculator. And what is the square root of 2,704? I did not know that off the top of my head, but when I typed it in, I got 50, let me see. Actually, I'll type it in with you. I have the square roots of 2,704. I kind of forgot, I think it was 50 something. Yes, it's 52. So plus or minus 52 is a perfect answer, equals A. And there's 2 answers, positive 52 and negative 52. Now, every square root equation doesn't come up with a super nice answer. So there's going to be 2 ways that you're expected to get answers whenever the equation doesn't work out as nice. So the first way that you're going to be able to give an answer is to round it. Now, your teacher can tell you which place to round to. I'll talk about that here in just a second, which means decimals when we round it. So we have y squared equals 1,346. I have to know how to get rid of squared. So I'm going to rewrite the equation here because I'm going to do something to each side. Now, what is the opposite of squared is square root. So I square root the left side, I square root the right side, but on the number side, I can't forget my plus or minus. On the left side, the square root and the power of 2 are opposites, they cancel. So I have y equals. The plus or minus symbol stays there. But now when I type in the square root of 1,346 in my calculator, so please make sure every calculator is a little bit different, but this one is second x squared key. There's a square root symbol there. I got this in my calculator. I got 36.687872666. No teacher wants you to write down all those answers or all those numbers. So make sure you know the names. Sometimes teachers will ask you to round to the 10th place. Sometimes they'll ask you to round to the 100th place. Probably the furthest you'd go is the 1,000th place. But you guys, that is the 10ths, the 100ths, and the 1000ths. It's just the first, second, and third digit behind the decimal. We're going to round to the 10th place in this class. So if we round to this place, please remember, you always look behind it and you ask what should happen to your value in the 10th place. Since an 8 or a quote-unquote large number is behind it, we'll take that 6 and bump it up to a 7. If you need any help with rounding, reach out to me and I'll show you a couple more examples. But I would have y is equal to plus or minus 36.7. Now, We kind of lie a little bit. I shouldn't say equal. Since I rounded, I should say approximately. And math people take the equal sign and make them like little squiggly equal signs, but it's okay. We'll just say equal in this class. Okay, the last example of the day, before you try your homework, is if we don't want you to round it, we can say that it's going to be in radical form. So number 4, we're going to have b squared is equal to 200. Now, if I say radical form, that means we cannot use rounded decimals. I got to get b by itself first. I like to just rewrite the problem so I can show my step and not in the original, because then I don't know what the original problem was. The opposite of a power of 2 or squared is square root. So I square root both sides. Now on the right side, I cannot forget plus or minus. All right, what happens on the left side? The square root and the squared are opposite, so they cancel, so I only have the letter b. And then I have plus or minus. Well, when I do the square root of 200 in a calculator, I get a decimal. Now, I don't want a decimal answer. So right now, I actually just keep it plus or minus the square root of 200. That might be my final answer, because you have to use your reducing radical skills that we've been doing the past couple of weeks. If there's a pair, they got to come out as a single. So I start breaking this down. Remember, I always divide. I divide by 2. If that doesn't work, I try to divide by 3. If that doesn't work, so on and so forth. You try to break it down, but divide by 2 works. It's 2 times 100. I divide that by 2. It works because it's an even number. It's 2 times 50. I divide that by 2 because it's an even number. It works. It's 2 times 25. I divide that by 2. It doesn't work. Divide by 3. It doesn't work. Divide by 4. Nope. Divide by 5. Yep. And it's 5 times 5. So remember, you can keep dividing by the next biggest number to see if it can break down. So now what I have is I have 5 prime numbers. 2, 2, 2, 5, 5. And you have to remember that a pair comes out as a single. So a pair of 2's comes outside the radical. A pair of 5's comes outside the radical. And this 2 is trapped. He doesn't have a partner. So I have b is equal to plus or minus. On the outside, a 2 times a 5 makes 10. Square root, and that 2 stayed trapped, so it's radical form. All right, your homework, you guys, is going to be the same exact directions. Number 3 on your homework, you're going to do a rounded answer, just like number 3 in your notes. Number 4, I don't want a decimal, I want a radical form for number 4 in your homework, just like notes. All right, you guys, let me zoom in your homework here. Take a second. There it is. All right. Good luck. If you need something, please reach out to me. Otherwise, it's your boy, Mr. P.